Hello and welcome back to The Garbage Gamer. I am your host Erebus, and today we're going to be talking about making cuts to a commander deck. Now, this deck, Time Turmoil, was sent to me by a friend, Marsh, and he's having trouble getting the deck down to 100 cards. The premise of the deck is maximizing upkeep triggers through extra combats while punching opponents in the face. Hopefully he means with cards and not literally. So let's get into it. Firstly, the deck is an Obeka Splitter of Seconds deck, which is a very cool card in my opinion. The first thing I'm going to do is duplicate the deck, and this will allow me to make any changes that I need to make. So the process that I'm going to be showing you today is not going to be the only option, of course. It is just one way of cutting cards, and I've found it's the way that works for me. As I said, it is all about extra combat and extra upkeep. So what we want to do is we want to enable tags, and we want to start organizing these cards into functions. Cards like Arcane Signet, for example, that's a ramp card, and that's very simple. Now, you can do custom tags, you can do funny tags, but just to make it easy so that everyone understands what I am talking about when I talk about ramp, I'm talking about additional mana through artifacts or creatures, treasure tokens, and things that generate treasure tokens as well. Any ramp cards, I'm just going to drag them up. We can see the signets. Felwar Stone, Fountain of Renewal is not, Is It Signet is, Midnight Clock is, and we're just going to organize these into the different categories. Once they're in the different categories, then we will be able to figure out what works with the deck and the idea behind the deck, and what doesn't work with the deck and the idea behind the deck. Alrighty, so now that that's all done, as you can see, I have finished organizing all of the cards into the various categories that I am using. Now, I may not have done a perfect job, but I have done a job at least. So again, we have the commander, we have the 4 additional combat spells, Fear of the Horde, Karlach, Morog, and Overpowering Attack, and there may be another one somewhere. We have the additional upkeep spells, Paradox Haze, a classic, Shadow of the Second Sun. I love this card. I would also like to see Sphinx of the Second Sun in here as well, and the 9th Doctor, which I think is really going to do a lot of work with this commander deck. Card advantage, we have 12. I think that's a good amount. Now, it's not just card draw, as you can see from Court of Ambition. Court of Ambition doesn't draw a card, but it does force your opponent to discard a card or 2 if you're the monarch. Court of Ambition, Dominus of Fealty. Again, I've put this under card advantage because you are stealing permanents, but this is the first card that I would cut because it is very mana intensive. You've got 5 blue or red pips. You've got ramp for it, but you need the black for your commander as well, who costs 4. So chances are you're not getting Dominus of Fealty out until turn 7 or 8. So I guess it could be a game winner, but if Obeka gets removed, then you're going to really struggle to capitalize on this. Fountain of Renewal can be used to draw a card, as can Commander Sphere actually. Commander Sphere is also card advantage technically. I think Fountain of Renewal would be the second card that I would cut. Even if you're getting 3, 4, 5 extra upkeeps and gaining 5 life a turn, it doesn't feel like the goal of the deck is life gain, and there's nothing that synergizes with the life gain from this. So Fountain of Renewal and Dominus of Fealty are the first 2 cards that I would cut. Inspiring Refrain, I love this card even without the benefits of extra upkeeps to remove the suspend counters. I think this card is really good. I'm really happy to see it in the deck. Mind Whisker is not a card that I am familiar with. So at the beginning of your upkeep, Surveil 1. As long as 7 or more cards are in your graveyard, creatures your opponents control get -1/-0. So that is a little bit of protection, but I feel like, is it going to be enough to stop your opponents? The Surveil 1 is nice because you do get to filter the top card of your deck. You can, if you've got enough lands, you can pitch them into the bin. But this is another card that I feel like you're not capitalizing on the Surveil. You are just using the Surveil to filter draws. But why filter draws when you can just instead draw them? Crawling Crawler, I love this card. This is great. Very group hug, which I think is really cool. If you can convince your opponents that you're running a group hug version of Obeka, and then you hit them with Scrawling Crawler and Stormfist Crusader, one turn away from each other. So turn 2 Stormfist Crusader, turn 3 Scrawling Crawler, turn 4 Obeka, and then you swing with Obeka, you get an extra 2 upkeeps after combat. All of a sudden, your opponents are going to be drawing a lot of cards, which can lead to answers, but also they're taking a lot of damage. And it's kind of like, do you remove these, or do you just accept the loss of life while also appreciating the card advantage that it gives you? But I absolutely think a board wipe, once you start to get the engine rolling, a board wipe is not far off if you've got both of these out. Tamiyo's Journal, at the beginning of your upkeep, investigate, create a clue token, sacrifice 3 clues, search your library for a card, add it to your hand. You're getting, even without any buffs to Obeka, if you can sneak Obeka through, someone only has 1 creature, you can just bop them for 2, and then all of a sudden you're getting 1 card that you want per turn. And I think that is just beautiful. I love Tamiyo's Journal, and making it work in a deck is always fantastic to see. Thassa, God of the Sea, I think this is great. Similar to Mind Whisker, it gives you the scry at the beginning of your upkeep, but also allows you to swing with Obeka. She can't be blocked. You're guaranteeing additional scries. Whereas I think Mind Whisker is not quite getting there. Thassa, God of the Sea, 100% is getting there. She definitely stays in. The Ruinous Powers, at the beginning of your upkeep, choose an opponent at random, exile the top card of that player's library. Until end of turn, you may play that card, and you may spend mana as though mana of any color to cast it. When you cast a spell this way, its owner loses life equal to its mana value. So this is damage. Like, that's a damage dealer and a half. You are going to be having a lot of fun with that. I love it. Twilight Prophet, incredible card, definitely stays in. That's going to deal a lot of damage to each opponent, especially, again, if you get this out turn 3 with ramp, and then Obeka turn 4, and then you just bop someone on turn 5, maybe you reveal 1 land at the start and no one takes any damage, and then all of a sudden you're revealing Xanathar for 6 and the Ruinous Powers for 4, and each opponent has just taken 10 and you've gained 10. Love it. Absolutely love it. Speaking of Xanathar, I think he's great. I really do. I love the D&D set, and I really wanted to build a blue-black deck around him. Unfortunately, I did overextend myself deck-wise and needed to take a break. Now we have the cheat, which is things that, like As Foretold and Braid's Conjurer Depth, things that you are capitalizing on, casting things for free, really just abusing the upkeep triggers. This is what the upkeeps are all about. So As Foretold, if you get 3, 4, 5 extra upkeeps off this, you are in a really good spot. Braids, you are just going to be dumping your hand, and that's why something like Inspiring Refrain is so important, because you will really want to keep just casting this over and over as much as possible. Court of Lochthwain, at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of target opponent's library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled, and mana of any type can be spent to cast it. If you're the monarch, until end of turn, you may cast a spell from among cards exiled with Court of Lochthwain without paying its mana cost. So again, you cast this main phase 1, you hit someone for 2 or 3 with Obeka, all of a sudden, you're taking something from everyone. You are really going to abuse this, and I think that is just gorgeous. Gate to the Ether, similar to Braids, except it's from the top of the deck and you just put it into play rather than from your hand. Plug in Nasari. Now I use this card in my Jero and Hazaret deck. That is going to put in a lot of work. The 10th Doctor, whenever you attack, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. Put 3 time counters on it. If it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. I think that's fine. Timey-wimey, pay 7, time travel 3 times. For each suspended card you own and each permanent you control with a time counter on it, you may add or remove a time counter, then do it 2 more times. So again, this will allow you to cast things like Inspiring Refrain and Rousing Refrain more frequently, but it's 7 mana and 5 mana just to get him out. I'm not too sure that I like the 10th Doctor in here, so this would be my next cut. Then we have Wildfire Devils. So actually, I'm gonna remove these cards that I've suggested. So Dominus of Fealty, remove, and the shortcut for that is Alt 2. Fountain of Renewal, remove. Mind Whisker, remove. The 10th Doctor, remove. Wildfire Devils, when it enters the battlefield and at the beginning of your upkeep, and that combination is really strong. Choose a player at random. That player exiles an instant or sorcery card from their graveyard. Copy that card. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. So that, again, if your opponent has a really strong instant or sorcery in their graveyard, any land ramp would be fantastic as an early hit with Wildfire Devils. The only issue is at random, but I think, again, with so many upkeep triggers, you're going to abuse this. You are going to really see a lot of value out of this. So this is now the damage section. Court of Ambition. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 3 life unless they discard a card. If you're the monarch, instead each opponent loses 6 life unless they discard 2 cards. And again, it's card advantage. You are removing the cards from your opponent's hands. I don't think I've ever been in a game where someone has consistently told me every single one of their turns, hey, do you mind if you just discard 7 cards? Can you just discard 7 cards every single turn? You better have a way to recover. Like, I would have to say that anything short of a big Blue Sun's Zenith where I draw 27 cards, a big Ancient Silver Dragon, if I don't have to discard it because this will be online very early, there is a high chance that you are going to struggle, though it will help out the graveyard decks. Court of Embereth, this is just, again, pure damage. Even if you only have Obeka out and Court of Embereth, if you hit someone for 2, Court of Embereth triggers 2, then 3 damage in a turn. And I did want to cut this while I was organizing it, but the more I look at it, if you get 3 upkeeps, it goes 2, 3, 4. If you get 4 upkeeps with Court of Embereth, then it goes 2, 3, 4, 5. You're dealing 14 damage to each opponent. And most of the time, Court of Embereth is not a good card. It's not great. You get maybe 2, 3 damage out. Board wipe, you get maybe 1 damage out. But with so many upkeeps, you are going to be, again, just absolutely capitalizing on this. And if you have any other creatures out, it's just extra value. Creeping Bloodsucker, I think this is really cool. You deal 1 damage to each opponent and you gain life equal to the damage lost. So each turn you're gaining 3, 6, 9 or more life. And I think that this card is actually really dangerous in a deck like this. I think it is perfect. Palace Siege, I think this is great recursion or damage. Each opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life, similar to Creeping Bloodsucker, but you're not gaining as much life. Ruinous Powers. Now, I have called this equipment, and you will notice that the first card is Artful Dodge. It's not so much equipment, it's more just good value for the commander. So we have Artful Dodge, target creature is unblockable, and it has flashback. So that's going to really help Obeka get rolling. Blacksmith's Talent makes the sword, which does buff Obeka, and then on top of that, with enough mana or over a couple turns, you're giving Obeka double strike. And that is really vile because all of a sudden you're going from 2 or 3 to 6 damage. Champion's Helm, incredible card, perfect for this kind of deck, protects the commander, buffs the commander by 2. So you're getting just more out of it. This one kind of can go, I think. It's +3/+0. Obeka does have Menace, but I think hitting for 5 is great. And if you've got Blacksmith's Talent active, then you are really going to enjoy it, but we have to make the hard cuts. And this is one of those hard cuts because it only gives attack. It doesn't give toughness. It doesn't buff in any other way. And we are really looking for things that do more than one. So I'm going to remove this from my version of the list. Cloud of Dominus. Now, I think this is really bad in the deck because it's an enchantment that gives Shroud. And that is really going to hurt if you get this out early. If it's the first enchantment you see that buffs your commander, yeah, you're getting +2 and you can swing with haste and it has Shroud, can't be targeted by opponents. But also, if you top deck Champion's Helm, Lava Spur Boots, Ring of Evos Isles, any other equipment, all of a sudden, this has just shot you in the foot. So I think Clout of the Dominus also should go, because Shroud, with so many equipment in the deck, is going to do more harm than good. So next up we have Lava Spur Boots. Equipped creature gets +1/+0, has haste and ward 1. They really love putting ward 1 on everything, but I think this is just fine. It's haste. It's basically, wait. So we've got Lightning Greaves, but we don't have Swiftfoot Boots, which I would say, again, Swiftfoot Boots would be better because hexproof over Shroud, and this is just ward 1 Swiftfoot Boots with a little buff on top. So I would say Lightning Greaves, at least you can equip it to something else as a bonus. Yeah, you're opening your commander up to instant speed removal, but at least you can equip the Lightning Greaves to another creature, put all the equipment you need to on Obeka, and then re-equip the Lightning Greaves. Now, Ring of Evos Isle, I'm going to lump these three together. Ring of Evos Isle, Ring of Valkus, Ring of Zathrid. They all do the same thing. They have a buff. Ring of Evos Isle is pay 2 mana against hexproof. Ring of Valkus is giving haste, and Ring of Zathrid gives regenerate. But more importantly, these have an upkeep trigger. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on equipped creature if it's blue, red, black. She is going to love this. Security bypass. As long as enchanted creature is attacking alone, it can't be blocked. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, it connives. So again, that's more card advantage for starters. It allows your commander to get through. I think that's just fine. Two-handed axe / sweeping cleave. Target creature you control gains double strike until end of turn. Whenever equipped creature attacks, double its power until end of turn. So that, again, with the rings, with Blacksmith's Talent, that is going to do a lot, especially two-handed axe with Blacksmith's Talent, like double Obeka to 4 and then double strike. Yeah, sure, just take 8 commander damage and give me 8 extra upkeep triggers with all of my rings that now go off. And Obeka getting 24 +1/+1 counters and then swinging at the next opponent because you've got the extra combat spells. That's funny. Vorak Battlehorn. Equipped creature has trample and can't be blocked by more than one creature. This is perfect. Obeka has menace, can't be blocked unless by 2 or more creatures. So this does make her unblockable for a very cheap cost. And giving trample as well, will not be necessary for Obeka, but may be necessary for something else in the deck. Whisper Silk Cloak, again, unblockable. Again, Shroud, similar to Lightning Greaves, does open it up to instant speed removal if you want to equip anything else, but just allowing the, in Lightning Greaves' case, the haste, Whisper Silk Cloak, the unblockable, I think they're fine. Winged Boots, giving flying and ward 4, I think that is just great. You're paying 2 mana to get them out, similar to Lightning Greaves, and ward 4 is effectively countering every single targeted removal. Next we get to the ramp. Now we're down to 13 equipment. 16 ramp is a lot. So we have Arcane Signet, staple. Commander Sphere, classic. We have the Signets. We have Dimir Signet, Izzet Signet, and Rakdos Signet. Now, my first thought is to cut down to about 12 ramp pieces. So I think Midnight Clock is an interesting choice. It does trigger at the beginning of each upkeep, which does then protect you from being milled out, but you do exile Midnight Clock, and I think, and costing 3 mana for blue, I think that one can stay, honestly. Felwar Stone, I have been hit by Felwar Stone, where I turn 1, colorless land, turn 2, reflecting pool, can't do anything, turn 3, each opponent is playing colorless lands, turn 3, I finally get another land and I play Felwar Stone and I still can't tap it for mana because each opponent does not have lands that can tap for mana, for colored mana, because they bricked just as badly as I did. So I'm gonna take out Felwar Stone. Generous Plunder is going to do a lot of work. Tempting Contract. If anyone says yes to Tempting Contract, they are asking to lose the game. It's similar to Tempt with Discovery. If you say yes to getting any land from your deck, all you're saying to your opponent is, yes, I would like any land and also to lose the game. Now, if this is going off 8 times a turn, there is no way I can see anyone saying yes to this 8 times in a row and not seeing the gigantic red flag waving behind you. I would say Dimir Signet can come out. I think the Signets, other than Arcane Signet, they're just not quite there. It feels like they should be there, but I find myself cutting them more and more often. I think Mind Stone, yeah, again, this is card advantage, so we can keep that in. Herald of Leshrac, I think, is really funny. Degeneracy at its finest. Again, 3-4 upkeeps. You're taking a lot of lands. This is going to die very quickly once you're hitting with Obeka for more than 2, 4. I mean, you're gonna take a lot of lands, and there is a chance that you'll take everyone's lands, and then this dies immediately because there's no lands that you can take. We then have Mox Tantalite. I think this is fine. I think it's really funny. Really playing on the suspend angle. Replicating Ring, I do have this in my Hilda deck, which is a lot slower than this one, and I would love to actually see this pop off more than once in a game, because you don't lose Replicating Ring once you get to 8. You just lose the counters on it. So you're gonna see multiple Replicating Ring triggers, I hope. Rousing Refrain, again, really leaning into the suspend 3. It's like a fair Jeska's Will. I think this is perfectly fine. Soul Talisman, again, not playing Soul Ring, but are playing Soul Talisman, and I think that's really funny. And I've also found myself removing Soul Ring from decks and wanting to run Soul Talisman. Tempting Contract, we've already discussed. There is no way any opponent is saying yes, and if each opponent does say yes to this, they are asking to lose. And Thought Vessel, you have no maximum hand size and add colorless. I think that's fine. I am a little concerned about the amount of colored mana that we're ramping with. Now that the Signets are out, I do think that we need something else. Maybe Talismans could be good, actually, in place of the Signets. They cost 2 mana, and you can tap for colored mana the cost of 1 life. And I think that is better than requiring an untapped mana source for the Signets. We now have Recursion, Oversold Cemetery. Again, I'm not sure how frequently this will trigger. If we actually have a look at just the type, there's 16 creatures in this deck. Most of it is artifacts, enchantments, lands. You have almost more enchantments than creatures. I would say for that reason that Oversold Cemetery probably does not remain in the deck. Palace Siege, I have a feeling that this can stay in the deck only because you're choosing dragons as opposed to Khans. Unless you get milled out horribly and somehow hit every creature in your deck early on, I think there is a very low chance of you choosing Khans. Removal and counterspells count as removal. An offer you can't refuse. It's a 1 mana counterspell. Oh no, you get 2 treasure tokens. You don't care. You're smacking them in the face for 5 and getting 5 extra upkeeps that they then have to discard their hand and discard 10 cards from their hand. So you don't care about the treasure tokens here. Culling Scales, I think this one, destroy target non-land permanent with the lowest CMC among non-land permanents in play. If your opponents are running a lot of tokens, including treasure tokens, this would be fine. But I worry that if you are triggering this so frequently with Obeka, that eventually it is going to start blowing up your own things and then itself. So for that reason, I am saying Culling Scales out. We then have Negate, counter target non-creature spell. Reality Strobe, return target permanent to its owner's hand. Remove Reality Strobe with 3 time counters. Again, really funny, perfectly fine. Really leaning into the suspend 3. Suspended Sentence, destroy target creature an opponent controls. That player loses 3 life. Suspend 3. Perfect. And Swan Song, counter target enchantment, instant or sorcery spell, and they get a 2/2 token. I think that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. Now, you are in red and black, so I am a little surprised that we don't have any board wipes. I know Obeka is your mainstay in the deck, Marsh, but I would say that 2 or 3 board wipes, Damnation, Blasphemous Act, maybe not Cyclonic Rift, but something like Desynchronization would be good. If we go to Scryfall, return each non-land permanent that's not historic to its owner's hands. So that does allow you to keep Obeka out. I think Desynchronization is the perfect card for you because Obeka is legendary. You're going to keep the equipment on her, and then it is an instant. So again, you can do this at the end of someone's turn before your upkeep, where you just really bash someone for a lot with Obeka. Next up, we have Court of Embereth. We know how this one goes. You're going to have a lot of fun. And if you have Dragon Master Outcast out, you are making a lot of 5/5s. My only concern with this is that because you are not in green, it's going to be at least turn 6 before this turns on. And if you miss a single land drop, then you are going to really feel the burn of this at turn 7. So while there is, I believe, not a lot of low mana cards, so we only have one more card to cut, so that is good. And I think Dreadhorde Invasion and Extravagant Replication, now this is funny. Extravagant Replication on Paradox Haze or Extravagant Replication on Shadow of the Second Sun. If you stack these correctly, you can say, okay, well, Shadow of the Second Sun is on the field. This triggers at the beginning of the post-combat main phase. Your Obeka, Splitter of Seconds, hit for 5. Just as an example, you hit for 5, you're getting 5 extra upkeeps immediately. All of a sudden, Extravagant Replication, you suddenly have 5 extra upkeeps to make 5 extra copies of Shadow of the Second Sun, or 5 extra copies of Palace Siege, or 5 extra copies of Court of Embereth. Please don't do 5 extra copies of Court of Embereth, because that's just rude. That is villain behavior. Next, we have the lands. Upkeep triggers Alexios, Deimos of Cosmos. He attacks each combat if able, can't be sacrificed, and can't attack its owner. And at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player gains control of him, untaps it, and puts a +1/+1 counter on it. It gains haste until end of turn. That is funny with, again, 2, 3 extra upkeeps. Even if you play him in main phase 1, swing with Obeka, hit for 2, you put 2 counters on him, pass, he's got 3 counters on him to your next opponent, he's a 7/7, and that is a threat, especially with Trample. Blacksmith's Talent, Court of Ambition, Court of Cunning. Court of Cunning is one that I am very unsure about, because I think Mill is the worst option, purely based on the fact that Eldrazi exists. With that in mind, if your opponents aren't running Eldrazi and you hit them with mill 50 cards in a turn, that is really funny, especially if they're not a graveyard deck. So for that reason, just for the fun of it, we're keeping it in. Court of Embereth, disgusting. This card started out, when I started doing these cuts, I looked at Court of Embereth and said, yeah, that's probably not very good. And now it terrifies me. And I think that is the perfect kind of card to see in this deck. Court of Lochthwain, again, love it. Court of Vantress, this is just another Extravagant Replication. You, sir, need to stop. Because, again, really funny, but also stop it. Get some help. Creeping Bloodsucker, Dragon Master Outcast. That one, I really want to cut Dragon Master Outcast. And if we only need one more cut, then Dragon Master Outcast is going to be it. Dreadhorde Invasion, I think, is fantastic. You lose 1 life and amass zombies 1. Whenever a zombie token you control with power 6 or greater attacks, it gains life. I think that is really, really good. We've been through those. Riversong's Diary, this is another cheat card because you are stealing from your opponents. Scrolling Crawler, Security Bypass, we've been through all these. I think that's it. We've cut it down to 100 cards. We can probably change some of the ramp, like Commander Sphere, Midnight Clock, maybe, Mind Stone, maybe, Thought Vessel, maybe. For talismans, just to get the colored mana, Tempting Contract can also possibly be changed for guaranteed mana rather than the lie of mana when your opponents realize what you're doing. Overall, I think this deck is really funny, but I do want to see some board wipes as well. Even if it's just one board wipe in each color. It says it was a bracket 3, but I think keeping this as a bracket 2, I think this is going to be a really funny and fun bracket 2 deck that I am extremely excited to see in action. So I hope you've enjoyed my thought process behind the cards and why we keep them. Marsh, I hope that you understand the reason behind the cuts, and again, it's just the way that I do it. It doesn't mean that it is the perfect way to remove cards from a deck, but I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you take it into consideration, and I hope that you are able to get the deck down to 100 cards. And with that, we've reached the end of the video. Thank you very much for joining me. I have been the Garbage Gamer. Erebus, Marsh, please enjoy, and I hope that you have some serious either therapy or enjoyment out of this deck. Either one is great. Have a good night. Hey guys, Editor Erebus here. I did realize while editing this video that 10th Doctor plus Rousing Refrain is actually an infinite combo if an opponent has 8 or more cards in hand, because you do get +1 mana for each card in target opponent's hand, and the 10th Doctor's ability costs 7. So after discussing with Marsh, we have decided to cut Rousing Refrain instead and keep the 10th Doctor in the deck, because the 10th Doctor is going to put in a lot more work for the other suspend cards. Thanks.